the houses of astrology. Right now, I have them named from Capricorn, which is the 12th house, and Aries, the 1st house, 2nd house in Taurus, 3rd house in Gemini, 4th in Cancer, 5th in Leo, 6th in Virgo, going all around, okay? And we go from the north to the south, to the west to the east. This is called Aj. Now the Aj is the energy of dealing with the witches, okay?
You serious?
Yo, Benissona, what up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 2. I just want to dive right into it. If you haven't already seen episode 1, definitely check it out. So this video, as you can see, is focused on a successful YouTuber, 11,000 subscribers, Priestess Auset Ra Amen. I know, it's a long name. But yeah, so this was a lot of fun putting together, and I hope you guys enjoy. So check it out. So right on the onset, it says here, I am a Obea Bokor, High Priestess of Ochun, Chango, Egun. She's not crowned, she just has her warriors, but claims Olocha. Lucifer, I guess she honors Satan. Necromancer, so she works with the dead. I'm assuming she's putting like Palo Mayombe in that same vein as Necromancer. Kabbalist, aka is Jewish mysticism, demonology, goddess worshiper, metaphysician, diviner, occultist, or day minister. So a whole smorgasbord of titles and what she's into. And this is from her actual website. This is her. This is just one of the services that she offers. You know, what I'm definitely going to be diving more into, but she does throw the dilogun. Again, she has no ceremony done. This is a table of Ifa. You don't throw dilogun on a table of Ifa, but we'll definitely get into that. And when it comes to tradition, when it comes to protocol and, you know, certain ways to do things, she doesn't believe that there's a need for a middleman. So just, you know, if you get a bunch of stones, you get some river rocks, put in a sopera, you got Ochun. You get a cauldron, you put some Palo Mayombe sticks, you got Ogun. So we're definitely going to be looking more into that.
Now, back in ancient times, when you were to be initiated, when you were born, your parents went and got a divination, and it was foretold that you came back to this realm to be a priestess or a priest. It was it was a destiny of yours, okay? And that you displayed certain spiritual gifts as a child. And what they would do is they would dedicate you to a temple. Okay? It's like the monks, the Buddhist monks. The children are dedicated as children. Back in ancient time in Greece, we had the Sibyls, we had the Pythias. In the temples of Kemet, okay, you had priests and priestesses, whether it was the cult of Amun Ra, whether it was the cult of Aset, the cult of Bas, cult of Hathor, whatever, and you had priestesses that were devoted to those temples. So this is about, you know, really making sure when any of these Loa and Kisis or Orishas roll up on you, and they've come to many of people. I've done readings for people that I'm like, yeah, you're walking with Ochun. And they will tell me a dream or stuff that's been happening to them. Like, yeah, that's Ochun, you know, or people will come to me for a consultation and it's like, yeah, that's Yemaya. She's been trying to get your attention. You know, they already come to you. So why you need to be initiated to work with them? It's lies. And they have monetized initiations to rip people off behind this. Do not be deceived. Goddess is not mocked. But for you regular folk out here, when you want to work with these various energies, make sure that you do your due diligence and you do your research. Invest in your spirituality. Invest in yourself, which is buying these books and reading them. That's how you invest in yourself. You buy your books, you buy your crystals. I'm now in the age of the return of the divine feminine, where it's about being your own savior, your own guru, your own inner master teacher. Okay, so that you can join with the collective. But in order for you to join with the collective, with the spiritual awakening, transformation that's sweeping the planet, you do need to do your own diligence, because the goddess has never been about codependency. The goddess is about you are the one that you have been waiting for.
What?
Okay, so let's analyze this. I know that was a lot. This is going to be a long documentary. First off, she kept mentioning ancient times, ancient times. Just to put things into perspective, you know, keep in mind, I'm no historian, but La Regla de Ocha as we know it today is literally, like, it's been structured as it is today from like 1890 to the 1930s, around there. Influencers like Susana Cantero, Fucci, De Motea, La China, what's it called, the 10-cent China, Octavio, by the Meiji, I believe his name was. Oh God, I should know this. I actually just saw the woman who made Olokun, Fermina Gomez, you know, all the people that we iba in Moruba. You know, these are the influencers. So she keeps referencing ancient times, ancient times. Even if I were to give you the benefit of the doubt, you know, these are ATR's, African tradition religions, which were brought over when was slave trade, like the 1500s, started maybe like 1525 around there, and then ended 1880 around there. So maybe like 400 years. But she keeps referencing stuff from literally like ancient Greece, times before Jesus and during Jesus, ancient Kemet, ancient, you know, Buddhism is, 500 years before Jesus existed. Siddhartha Gautama, you know, became enlightened and, you know, started Buddhism and all that. And then Greece, talk about the oracles. I remember, you know, I'm a God of War fan. I remember in the first one you had to like find this oracle lady, but basically, you know, just trying to keep in line with, you know, what she's saying. Yes, there are oracles of Greece and in Kemet, aka Egypt, you had your temples, but, you know, keeping it in perspective, she is talking about initiations today, 2021. What does, you know, ancient Egyptian and ancient Greece and ancient like Buddhism have to do with voodoo and Ocha? I know there are initiations on Wicca and you know, just stuff that I'm simply not knowledgeable about, so I don't touch on. You know, I don't talk about Wicca. I don't talk about Obia. I don't talk about Greek stuff and Buddhist stuff. I'm not super knowledgeable on that, so I just don't touch it. But yeah, so in a nutshell, initiation for Orisha wasn't if it was meant for you. You want to go ancient days, every Orisha had a town. Obatala had Ileife, Ochosi had Ketu or Ketu, Ochun had Oshobo, of course Chango, you know, has the most famous city, the city of Oyo. So every Orisha in Yoruba land had their own town, their own city, their own village, whatever you want to call it. And everybody in that town, let's say in the town of Oyo, was crowned Chango. And everybody who was in the town of Ketu was crowned Ochosi. Everybody who was in the town of Oshobo was crowned Ochun. Everybody was crowned the same crown. And that one town had the secrets of how to crown that one Orisha. Everybody got an elegua at their feet and they got their crown on their head. When by the 18 90s or like 1920s, 1910s, 20s, 30s. Certain individuals, very influential individuals of Fuji and all the people that I had mentioned, Ibaye, you know, Susana Cantero, Filomena Gomez, all the slaves. You had people, slaves from the town of Ketu, from Ochosi, slaves from the town of Chango, Yamaya, they all came together, and now there are a bunch of slaves in Cuba and Brazil. And now, instead of receiving one orisha, La Rey de Ocha made it where you receive more than just your crown. So if your crown is Obatala back in Ileife, you'd have Echu or Elegua at your feet and crown Obatala. Now, since the advent of the 1910s, 20s, 30s, and all these very influential people bringing La Rey de Ocha to what it is now, okay, your crown's Obatala, you're also going to receive Ochun, Jemaya, and the warriors and Chango and all of them. Which is standard today. Where was it going with this? Yeah, so that's how we have Orisha today. But in the beginning, everybody was crowned the one that was their town. And in the event that person's crown happened to be someone else, and this, back in Africa, well, then you had to go. They say, oh, we're in the town of Ileife, and it turns out this person's crown really is Chango for some reason. Well, then they had to bring that person to the town of Oyo, where only the secrets of Chango are known. But I don't consider that ancient days, and what Greek astrology and New Ageism and talking about the divine feminine and ancient Egyptian religion from 2,000 plus years ago, and what that has to do. I did a whole video talking about Egypt. Kind of controversial. Someone was saying, oh, it's still Africa, so it's okay for a person to get to their African roots. Well, you can literally say that. That's like, I made the whole point that it's 1,000 miles away. That's like a Native American. That's like a Lenape in Jersey saying that, that they want to, let's say if I'm a Lenape Indian from Jersey or, from years, my lineage traces back to the Lenape. Or I would just use Taino. And I want to I don't know, identify with the Mexican Aztecs, the Aztecs. Well, there's still two different tribes that are literally 1,000 miles away. So why are people from the ancestors of the slave trade identifying with stuff from ancient Egypt? And not even just ancient Egypt, because now most of the country is Muslim, but people referencing stuff from like 2,500 years ago in the ATRs is, at least with the Orisha, the 1930s, 20s, 10s. So La Rey de Ocha, as we know it, is not that old. It's like 150 years old. And keep in mind, we're already in 2021, so there's that. Yes, true. It's true. Initiation is not for everyone. Is every santero, palero, babalao, boko, mambo, and ugan, and brujo out just for your money? No, that's ridiculous. You can be a devotee, you can bring pumpkins to the river, but just don't make claims to be this high priestess of Chango, Ochun, and Egun because you read a bunch of information in a book when you don't know the secrets of what it takes to make an Ochun or what it takes to make a Chango because you're not crowned. You can only learn so much in books, okay? So just because you read a bunch of books on the subject does not make you a master on the subject. Don't claim to be an Oba Oriate, which is the highest rank of initiation that a person can be in. Don't claim to have the status of Oba Oriate, and you literally all you got is your warriors. And I don't even know how legit that is. But no ceremony done, nothing. Why? Because only the initiated. What is the power of initiation? Only the initiated have the licencia as well as the ache to throw the logun, to throw the equile, to, you know, to work the ocha and whatnot. Reading a bunch of books doesn't mean nothing. I got my notes over here. You can only learn so much from books. So I'm saying, to this YouTuber, you can only learn so much from books, but what goes on in an actual cariocha ceremony, Mano de Arula ceremony, and, these ceremonies, how to make the warriors, and Pinaldo, stuff like that. What goes on in these actual ceremonies, you will never know. And there are secrets for a reason, so that people don't do this kind of stuff. And the whole be your own guru, be your inner master, because the goddess has never been about codependency. These are communal faiths. There is no such thing as self-initiation. There is no such thing as just, Ochun came to me in a dream, so I'm a priestess of Ochun. Friggin' Ezili came to me in a dream, I'm a priest of Ezili. Yes, spirit, Orisha, Huerto, Loa, Misterio, they speak to us through dreams, and yes, they are entities and energy that are available to each and every one of us, and you can be a devotee and a servitor. Just don't do things that are outside of your scope of licencia. And just having a bunch of books doesn't make you an expert. And as a matter of fact, initiation, it's not for everyone. But it does give you an understanding of that faith system. If I get initiation in voodoo, if I get initiated in ocha, if I get initiation into palo, it gives you a deeper understanding that you would not have if you just get it from a bunch of books. What else? Yes, these are traditions with rules. Rules, like I said in my other video, rules is not a bad word. Protocols is not a bad word. I think it's a slap in the face to all the slaves that took their time and risk to preserve these faiths and these systems. But even, if I were to play devil's advocate and say, okay, let's talk about ancient Greece, let's talk about ancient Egypt, let's talk about all these, ancient. She's talking about ancient. La regla de ocha, as we know it today, is not ancient. Orisha, like the Yoruba tradition, is ancient. But if we're talking La regla de ocha, that's literally like 1890 until today, which is not ancient. But it was building to what it was, and then it culminated to these influencers that I had mentioned. Even in ancient Egypt and Greece, I'm sure there were proper protocols as to how to service and how to initiate people into these, the cult of Poseidon and the cult of Aphrodite and, the cult of Hathor and whatever the, ancient, Anubis. There were protocols and rules too. What you give Anubis is not what you're going to give to Amun Ra. And how you give it. Maybe there's certain prayers in that certain language, and there's protocols in every religion. Rules is not a bad word. Rules are in place because this universe is governed by organization and rules. If that were the case, if everything was just spirituality, was just anarchy, just do your own thing, be your own god, be your own goddess, and just Izuli comes to you, boom, you're a high priestess of Izuli. You can just initiate people and just make it up as you go. This universe has rules. We have laws in this universe that God has put in place. You don't have to, take it from me. We have the laws of gravity. We have the laws of relativity. We have the laws of space and time. Within this physical universe, there are laws. In the spirit world, time and space are are irrelevant. But in this physical plane we're living, we live with rules and laws that God put. The laws of gravity, the laws of relativity, time, space, what goes up must come down. You know, so just the idea of I don't want to follow rules. And we're living in this age of Aquarius where you be your own master and you just self-initiate and everything yourself. I don't know what to tell you, because we're living in time and space and rules and organization. The earth revolves around the sun. Everything is in order, and the stars are in order. The stars don't move. The earth goes around the stars and rotates and all that. But there's an order and a harmony involved with the way the universe works. So why can't there be order and harmony and organization in how to serve certain spirits that have certain likes and dislikes, certain secrets and certain taboos? That's not a bad thing. You know, if you wanna make a cake, you open up a book and you find out what the ingredients are. If I need to make a wedding cake, why am I gonna look into, okay, I have a bread book over here, a candy book over here, a lasagna book over here, and I need to make an Italian wedding cake, and I'm looking up, but I have a Mexican taco book over here. You want to make a Mexican wedding cake, aka you want to initiate properly into Orisha? Well, then go to someone who's got the cookbook in their head. And you can find all these little things in the shelves, but the real deal is in Oba Oriate and a real Olocha, Yalocha, Babalocha. But don't expect to make a beautiful wedding cake when you're taking information from a Mexican taco book, a Japanese sushi book, and Indian, friggin' candy book making jalebi, and expecting to make an Italian wedding cake. And then when you present it to the people, you say, this is an Italian wedding cake, but it's got freaking taco shells and curry you sprinkled on the top. You know, there's nothing wrong with order, guys. So let's move on into just the next chapter.
Mental magic, it is always the goal for you to reach the highest, okay? And see, when you are down here working with these lower forms of magic, okay? And by lower forms, I mean people that are still sacrificing chickens and goats and cows. That's not doing anything for anybody. Blood sacrifices. In 2017, people are still cutting off the heads of chicken. And a lot of people, they get impressed by the fetishes. They go in somebody's house, whether you go in a voodoo priest's house or a babalao or a palero or whatever, and they got these big ass pots, with a monkey paw, a baboon's head, or a rhinoceros teeth, or, a severed head of a snake. And it's covered with blood and all these dastardly looking things, and people start pinching their nipples thinking they looking at some hot shit. No, you ain't. You know what I'm saying? The old adage, cleanliness is next to godliness. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go in anybody's house where it's filthy. They got all these relics, and it's covered in blood and feathers and this and that, and no, that's not working.
Are you dumb, stupid, or dumb?
Okay. So, what did you just see? Essentially, this YouTuber looks down on people who still sacrifice animals. Something that people still do in Africa today. Something that is still done in La Regla de Ocha, Palo, Voodoo, 21 Divisions. What else? Something that was practiced by the cultures that she claims in Greece, ancient Greece, a horse to Poseidon. I remember the terracotta warriors in China. The emperor was buried with a bunch of horses. They sacrificed mad horses so that he'd have chariots in the afterlife. The ancient Vikings practiced animal sacrifice. I think you'd give a goat to Thor, And what's the other one that she claims? She claims Greece and Egypt. And you know that the pharaohs and wealthy people were buried with animals and friggin' animal body parts and like cats and stuff, all the sacred animals of the time. But she looks down on animal sacrifice. She sees it as, I guess I would say like it's not very elevated to still practice animal sacrifice. Well, number one, if you are opposed to animal sacrifice and right after this video you go and get yourself a Wendy's 4 for $4, then don't even talk to me about no damn animal sacrifice. The Jews during Yom Kippur clean themselves with a chicken to this day. The Muslims, I believe in Newark, or I know somewhere in Newark or whatever, sacrifice a goat. You know, everything's done halal. The Jews, things are done kosher. What else? What other examples can I give you? Yeah, so it is a wide practice. Animal sacrifice is not something that's done willy-nilly. Oh, another thing before I forget, did I just mention the last one? I don't know. Basically, that animal sacrifice, keep in mind, it's not to birth an Orisha. It is done during a birthing of Orisha, but after the Orisha is born. The Orisha is born of Osain, and fed akuko, like a rooster, or if it's Yamaya, you know, they all get some of the same, some different, but you know, everybody knows the chicken. You know, I don't need to get in detail of, you know, Kwekwe, Yamayan, Ayatwa for Chango, and Agbo for Chango and all that. Akuko, rooster. Adie, hen. We'll keep it at that. So the two classics for movies that people see always get sacrificed. There's no need to look down on it. It's still something that's practiced till this day. I don't know why we would look down on it. It's something that's done with reverence. It's to clean people. It's to birth new things. It's something that's sacred. You know, blood. I mean, even in Christianity, you know, the blood of the lamb. You know, blood holds a lot of significance. So, you know, you're telling me that you're this high priestess. There's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking that way. But my thing is, then don't claim to be a high priestess of voodoo, or in her bio she is, I'm a high priest, like high priestess of Ochun, Chango, Egun, and necromancer, which I'm assuming Balo, in which animal sacrifice is a part of these faiths. Don't claim to be a high ranking anything, because number one, you're not initiated. Number two, that's what they eat. Ochun eats hen. It's not like an Espiritimo where if a muerto asks for pan, bread, you just say, "Our Father," and a Hail Mary. These African spirits take blood. Not all the time, as a matter of fact, not often. Usually it's bread. Fruit, herbs, dishes like, you know, if you give Ochun, Ochinchin, which is like spinach and shrimp, you know, so like actual like blood sacrifices are far and few between, a lot less than people think. Like a lot of people may feed their rishas once a year if they're not trying to make this big old ile or house or whatever. Most people, they feed their warriors once a year, call it a day. You know, if you're crown, maybe you feed them just two-legged animals. I mean once a year, not once a day, once a year. And that's it. Unless there's an emergency, you know, there's no need to get 50 readings a year. There's no need to feed friggin', your chickens to everything all the time. But, you know, it's not often that animals are given. But either way, the principal thing is, why are you looking down? Why is this woman looking down on people that do practice the proper protocol. That's essentially, thank you. That essentially what that's doing, what she's doing, is looking down at people that follow proper protocol. Because proper protocol says, Ochun asks for a hen, you give her a hen. You don't give her a pumpkin, you give her a hen. Chango asks for a ram, you give him a ram. You don't get a Chango macho statue and get a couple apples and a red candle and put a friggin' aveve on it and say this is for Chango. Like this is friggin' Wicca or something. These spirits eat animals. And another thing that she commented at the end is how, commenting how dirty some Orishas may look or messy, or how some Ngangas may look. These African traditions are messy. You will get messy, you will get dirty, you will get sweaty. If that's not something you like, if it offends your American sensibilities, then don't be a part of these traditions. But these traditions are about getting down and dirty. You're going to be getting your hands dirty. You're going to be rubbing herbs together by hand. And a lot of times, like, for example, like Ogun. Why? I'm assuming if this woman thinks like this, that her Ogun is like super clean and pretty. Ogun doesn't like to be kept like that. The warriors don't like to be kept like that. The battle spirits of Loa, some of them, yes, you have to keep Azuli Freda nice and prim and proper, and Matresidi nice and prim and proper. But the Gereses, they like to be dirty. The warriors of Ocha, Ogun, Ochosi, and Elegua, they like to be dirty. They're freaking messy with palm oil. I was watching a video on an Echu in Africa. It was like a mound. It was a public shrine, and it had like blood and palm oil. It was a mess, and that's authentic. So to look down on that as well, like, oh, feathers coming out of pots, that's all grand. No, there's a reason for all of these things. And to say that you look down on the way these things look, which sounded like proper protocol. So like it sounds like she's seen real Ngangas, real Orisha shrines. I don't know about no baboon paws and stuff. She, probably a little bit of hyperbole there. Rhinoceros teeth and stuff, but to look down on these things, to look down on the animal sacrifice, to look down on the way these things look, how they're supposed to be kept. Ogun is just a messy Orisha. Like he's your Ogun shouldn't look like just a completely clean, dry. No, it's going to be palm oil. It's going to be, rum, and maybe fat. Whatever it is that Ogun happens to request in a reading, whatever. That's traditional. That's protocol. So to look down on animal sacrifice and the protocol as to how to upkeep and maintain certain spirits in these traditions, be it Orisha, be it Palo, be it Voodoo. This is an Arab arrogance, looking down on tradition. And, there's no excuse for it, so don't claim. You can believe whatever it is you want to believe, but just please keep that title out your mouth. If you're not a high priestess, you're not a high priestess. You don't even know how to maintain any of these rishis, because if you knew how to maintain them, if you know how to maintain these spirits, you would know that the Gede likes to stay dirty. You would know that the warriors like to stay dirty. You would know that the Gangas like to stay dirty. That's how they're maintained. If you look in Africa, that's how they're maintained. If it looks brand new all the time, then I don't know what the hell you're doing. So I'm gonna break it and make it like part 2 for the next video. Please leave your comments. Give me your ideas, give me your thoughts. I think that so far what we've seen is an arrogance and a ridiculous Sancocho, meaning a mixing of Wicca, Egypt, and Palo, and Ocha, and Voodoo, that you're just your own master. Yes, I believe that we are all our own masters. but you are going to be I'm my own master who has, you know, be it a padrino, a madrina, because there are proper protocols in these traditions and rules. And as my own master, I'm choosing to be involved in Ocha or Balo or 21 Divisions or Voodoo or Obea or Peritimo or Candomblé, whatever. But as I direct myself as my own master into Candomblé, I understand that there are rules and regulations and protocols within that tradition. And as my own master, I can choose to stay, I can choose to leave. But it doesn't mean that I read a book on Candomblé and now I'm just this rando priest on the Candomblé and I'm going to initiate people and I don't got shit on my head, I don't know nothing, That's where the arrogance I see comes in with this particular YouTuber. You read a couple books, you look down on proper protocol, you look down on animal sacrifice, which is proper protocol, you look down on the upkeep and the maintaining of the physical, you know, your warriors and gangas and whatnot. You're looking down on that. And saying that everything can just be done by yourself because you believe in the divine feminine of the age of Aquarius in the 28,000th year, or something about Greek astrology and the Pisces, I don't freaking know. Mixing all this stuff and you can just do everything yourself. I think it's arrogant and, you know, I don't think it's right. But that's just part one, and I hope you guys look forward to part two. Let me know in the comments what you think about everything I said. And in part two, we're gonna see this woman's divination, in which we see the last one was the Baron bringing down people's garden Orishas with tarot cards. This lady throws the Lagoon on a table of Ifa, on an elevated table, as a woman. With Greek astrology written on the board, she throws chamalongos on a table of Ifa, talking to the muerto. Like, epiritimo muertos. Crazy. So, look for part two.